Hello everybody, welcome back to Just Lights. This was one of my older videos that I'm moving from my older channel to this channel right here. In this video, watch the transformation of this doghouse Crouse Hinds traffic light into this right here. Let's go ahead and get started. The first step is going to be to start removing everything as far as the lenses, all the wiring, disassembling all the pieces from themselves and the brackets, and then the cleaning can start. Alright, I'm getting ready to pull the pins, to try to drive these pins out. But the first thing I want to do is I want to try to figure out which way they drove the pins in. I mean, the easiest way to find that out is to, if I lift this side up, if you look, that pin's is not swiveling on that side, so it's only swiveling on this side. So I'm going to try to drive the pins out this way, each one just enough to where I can remove the door off of it. I don't want to pull them all the way out. There's no reason to pull them all the way out, but I also want to make sure I don't break this ear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the socket right here. I'm going to take the light, set it on top of the socket like this. So this way, sorry, not zooming in. So this way it has a nice little, solid piece to hammer against. And I'll just drive that pin out. But I'm going to have to get, my wife out here to, hold it up. She's going to have to hold the other end up for me while I do it, because I'm not going to be able to hold it and drive it out at the same time. So that's going to be the next step. Alright, you can see I got the pins. I drove them out just enough to where the door would clear and come off. And now when I go to put those back in, I'll probably use a pair of channel locks, and then just either I'll squeeze it back in, or I'll do the same thing. I'll hold a socket on this side and slightly drive it in with a small hammer on this side. Basically, I got just enough to where I get the door off. Now I got the other four to do. There we go. I got them all tore apart. Ready for the next step. One thing I noticed is the screws for the visors seem to be they don't really go all the way in. They do to a point, but a couple of them felt so far kind of hard to come out. So what I'm doing is pulling them out. I got a little tap here, a little tap and die. I'm just going through and just going through and just making sure those threads are nice and clean. Now what was nice about this is the fact that the lens holder screw on the inside is the same hole as the outside. So I was able to run the tap pretty much all the way through. So this way when I go to the inside, those screws are going to go in nice and easy as well. So that's one more little step I'm having to do because of oxidation and stuff like that within the aluminum. Alright, I ran into a little problem here. I'm ready to pull this apart, but over the years and years, obviously this was flipped over the other way. After years and years of water probably getting inside here, these screws are pretty corroded in there. So what I did is I flipped it over, I sprayed the inside, so hopefully lubricant can get down inside the threads. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my regular drill with a screw tip in it. I'm going to set my clutch, so this way I kind of create like almost like a vibration, but also a little bit of a spinning action at the same time. So you hear a like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can slowly break these free going that way. Essentially what this does is it kind of creates a little bit of like an impact, but it also creates a lot of vibration to kind of help break loose any kind of rust or something like that that's on those threads, to kind of help see if I can get them to walk out. I had some success in getting the one out, which is good because this is the side that I need for it to slide. But I've snapped two tips trying to get this one off, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get that one off. I might have to just leave it in there so it doesn't snap off inside my casing here. But this can move enough to where I can get to the bracket that holds the light on. So I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to leave it as is, clean it up. Alright, one of the first things I'm going to do first is take some glass cleaner, and I'm going to spray them down first, and I want to see exactly which ones really need staining, which ones don't, because like this one right here I don't think really looks too bad. honest with you, I really don't think that one looks too bad. Let's see. Yeah, see, that one's actually in really good shape. Like, I probably won't need to do anything to this one as far as the wet sanding. So I'm going to check the other green, the 2 oranges or ambers, but that one might definitely, this one might be okay. But for sure, this red one, you can see it definitely needs a little bit of attention. If you look at, actually, it looks like I might have some possible heat cracks in it, so I'm gonna have to be careful with that. Alright, so what I'm gonna do with these ones is, what I plan to do is after I wet sand this, I could use a buffer and try to buff it, but I'm gonna be honest with you, this lens right here definitely has some heat damage from, you know, from the original incandescent bulbs, putting all that heat in here. I mean, I can even see like a little bubble right here where the heat, this is probably one of those intersections where the light stays red for freaking ever and aggravates everybody. So there's a lot of damage to the red one compared to the rest. I'm using just a 1500 wet dry sandpaper, nothing special. When it comes to this red lens is in really rough shape, so I'm gonna have to do a lot of wet sanding on it, really cut into this thing pretty good, and try to get it as even as possible as far as the finish with the sandpaper, and then do the buffing after that. Now all I'm using here is just a fine cut polish with a foam applicator that's on my drill, just to buff these out. I think the 2 ambers turned out pretty good, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the red one. I said this one I gotta be a little cautious with because the heat cracks that I can sort of see in it when I have the light behind it. So now that I did the outside, which came out pretty good, I'm gonna do the inside now. I'm gonna see if I can take some of that that black off. You can sort of see it in the camera when you look. If I get it the right way, you can sort of see like right about in this area. You see the distortion. I'm going to see if I can maybe buff a little bit of that out, so this way the light will look a little bit better through there. So. All right. Let's see what that looks like. So that doesn't look too bad. No, it's hard to see now, but I can still see a little bit of that distortion area. But I don't think it is it's as bad as it was. But you can see the lens polished out really nice. Alright, I'm going to start off by using some paint stripper and pressure washer to get the bulk of the loose paint off, and then I'll use a sandblaster to hopefully finish it out. Well, that was as good as I was going to get them with the paint stripper and the pressure washer. You see, really didn't really do a whole lot for these up here. I mean, I definitely got any of the loose stuff off, but that's about it. The rest, hopefully the sandblaster can get the rest of this off. Pretty much got 3 out of 5 done. I'm not too worried about like areas right here because it's all going to be, you know, behind everything and all that, so I'm not too worried about that right there. But I gotta say that paint was on there pretty tough. I've already burned through a full bag of sand. I'm gonna have to get a second bag in order to finish the rest of it, but it's coming along. Alright, pretty much got everything sanded. I'm gonna take my little orbital sander, my little palm sander, and I'm gonna go over all of them, you know, just to make sure that everything looks smooth. But I'm gonna bolt the thing all back together minus the doors, before I actually paint it. And then after I paint the doors, then I'll mount the doors on it, and then I'll be doing the visors after that. All right, so now the process of going ahead and starting to put all the pieces back together. Now, normally I would paint stuff like this individually, but I figured it'd be much easier to paint this in one big chunk just because of the size of it. It'll also make it less likely for me to scratch everything up, possibly, while I'm trying to reassemble everything later on. All right, this is as far as I can go for tonight. I'm going to give this a couple days to dry, because I want to make sure it's fully cured, because I want to do some sanding on it. Normally you want to sand a surface just to give you a little bit, a nice surface for the new paint to adhere to. So I'm going to give it a couple days, do some sanding on it. Then I'm going to spray the yellow, and after that, then I'll start working on the doors, the visors, and then get ready to start reassembling it. All right, so I got a nice, good sunny day. It's a good day to be doing some painting on something like this. Now, pretty much all I'm using is just some paint from Tractor Supply. And the spray gun is just a cheap Harbor Freight spray gun, gravity fed, that you can get for like 16 bucks. I went ahead and did the whole inside first. So this way when I flip it over, like you see what I'm doing here, now when I paint the whole backside, I don't have to worry about making any marks or setting it on top of any of that fresh paint until I know I got a good cure. Here we go. There's this part right here. I did have a darn bug fly into it, but I'll be able to, once it fully dries, he'll come right out. And then I have one of the quick disconnects on hand and just sprayed that real quick, because that'll be going up on top of it. So when I hang it up, so once this is dry enough to where I can move it, then I will bring the doors out and get ready to paint those. Okay, so it's time to go ahead and start painting the doors. Now I'm going to do these the same way I did the housing. I'm going to go ahead and paint the bottom side first. So once I flip them over, I don't have to worry about doing any moving or shuffling around or anything like that, and possibly cause any kind of maybe fingerprints or scratches or anything like that on the surface until everything's nice and dry. All right, I got the doors all painted. I decided to just go ahead and leave that out here and let it sit in the sun and dry really good. I just made a table over here. I went ahead and painted these. What I did is I painted the bottom side to where I got all that coverage, but I was trying to keep it off the gasket so I don't get any sticking of the gasket. So that's why I was lightly spraying that part. But I got the surfaces completely painted all the way around, so I'm just gonna let these sit out here for the rest of the day in the sun, and then I'll bring them in, and then I'll let them sit out here again all day tomorrow in the sun. So this way I get plenty of cure time, and then it'll be on to the visors and then reassembly. All right, it's visor time. Now this is the extra one that I said I had. Overall, it's in good shape as far as no dents, cracks, or anything like that. It is missing one tab, so I'm gonna have to make a tab for that one. But some of these other ones, you can see it's it's pretty bent right here, so I'm gonna have to hammer that stuff as straight as I can. And then I'm gonna have to try to give it just a light sanding. I wasn't gonna pressure wash these ones. I was just gonna take my orbital and just sand them. But I do got obviously the ears to put back on this one. And those, I got these right here. I have a feeling I'm gonna have to make a couple of these. So, but let me get started on these so I can get ready to paint these. All right, so the next thing is to start straightening these visors out. And I'm gonna try everything I can to try to make this work. I don't really want to use a regular hammer because the hammer is going to really kind of stretch out that aluminum. So I'm just going to use a dead blow. And you see I'm going to use a 2x4 right here, a trailer hitch, all that kind of stuff, just so I can kind of pinpoint where I want to do my straightening. All right, so everything kind of turned out pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and use a sander right here and try to get everything sanded the best I can. Now what you see me doing right here is I'm actually screwing the visors down to that table. So this way, as I'm using the spray gun, you got the air pressure blowing out of the front of the gun. It doesn't blow the visors off my thing down into the dirt and get them all nasty, and then I have to start all over again. All right, they're all painted. Just gotta wait for them to dry. Ooh, oh, you gotta love that black paint. See the little dings that you don't see until after you get that paint on there, but oh well. I'll put that at the very top one so it's not noticeable. If you're kind of wondering what paint I use to paint the body and the doors, I just picked this stuff up right here at Tractor Supply. Now, unfortunately, I kind of covered some of the logo, but it's actually Caterpillar Yellow is what I use for the main body. And I just got another can of this right here that's just black for the doors and such. But this is essentially what I use right here because I like the darker yellow versus a lighter yellow for the body. I think it looks a little bit more accurate to what they're supposed to be. So, but that's what I end up using for the painting. Alright, I'm going to start doing some of the reassembly of the doors. Like I said, I'm going to try using a pair of channel locks. I put a little piece of wood on here. That's what's going to, to help, hopefully I don't mar up the door. The other part's just going to be on the pin. I'm not too worried about that. So I'm going to see if this idea of being able to push them back in works. A little sketchy, to be honest with you. What happened was let me bring you over here. On this one right here, I didn't have the pin. Like, see how this one right here, the pin is sticking out just a little bit? Well, that one, I had that one flush. So while I was trying to squeeze it, since I wasn't lined up with the hole, it wasn't going through at first. So I was kind of getting a little concerned that I wasn't gonna be able to push it through there. But once I got it down just enough to line it up with the door, I was able just to push it right in. So I'm going to go ahead and put the other 4 on. Since that method actually worked pretty good, I'm going to go ahead and get the other 4 doors on. Then after that, I got some wiring to do, reflectors, lenses, visors. Sounds like a long list, but it ain't going to take long. Now I'm going to run the wires. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reuse this. That's why I didn't throw it away, because it already has ends and everything on it. But what I'm going to do is I'm only going to use the wires that I need. Because this obviously had more wires in it than original, probably because it probably went to other circuits for other lights. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to label them. I'm going to try to, good thing is it looks like there's 2 of each color. So I have 2 oranges, 2 greens, and stuff like that. So I'll label which one is for my arrow and which one's for my regular. But now the fun part is going to be snaking the wire, through here and all that. So wish me luck. Alright, so the first step is to take the terminal blocks, mount them to the back side of the housing. Now once those are put in place, the next step is just to take the wires and start snaking them through the bracketry and all that kind of stuff so I can start connecting them to all the terminal blocks. Now with this light having essentially 2 sections, I got to have the 2 terminal blocks, but one of them is going to be my main power. That's one that my circuit board is going to run to. And then for me to power the other side, I'm going to have to make a jumper wire, which is going to be my neutral wire, which is going to be a white wire that's going to go from the one terminal block through the bracketry to the other side. Otherwise, I won't get full power to the other side. All right, so I got the wires ran. I ran them out here because what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip the ends of these and just use an extension cord and put light bulbs in them and make sure that as I touch it, each light's going to come on. So this way I make sure I got it wired right. I'm pretty sure I do, but the fact that I have to have a jumper from one side to the other side, I just want to make sure that my common is hooked up right. All right, before I start putting the lenses in, I just want to kind of show this. I actually ran into a stroke of luck. I was looking on the marketplace and I came across a guy that had some lenses that had that little insert that I was looking for. The only downside is I didn't think to ask him if they were glass or plastic lenses that he had, and these are the glass ones. The reason why that's an issue is I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison and kind of show you what it is the glass and the plastic lenses have a much different convex or curve to them, and what that's going to do, that's going to make it to where this is not going to sit nice and flat against the lens. All right, I stuck them side by side so you can see a lot better. You can see where see how this fits on here like it's supposed to. It's nice and right against the lens. Whereas when you bring it over here, you see there's a significant difference in how much curve this one has from this one right here. So I have a couple options I can do. One, I can try to put this on, see if I can get it to bend and somehow do a little more of this shape without wrinkling it or causing any kind of distortions that are going to mess up the image. Or I can put it on the inside, like this. The only problem I have with putting it on the inside is you can see, I don't know if you can see it in the camera too well, but I can get my finger in between it there. So I'm worried about is once my light is shining through here, am I going to get any light bleeding through, into this area right here, not giving me a nice, clean, crisp looking arrow. So I'm going to have to do some testing on that just to see. All right, so it's time to start putting the lenses in. So I'm going to do the red. Now you can see I ended up putting those arrows on the inside. I did some testing, and it actually doesn't look too bad being on the interior of the light. And the final piece to start making this light start to look a little bit more complete is the visors. Once these are on, the light is going to be done. Okay, so now that's all completed and all reassembled, let's go ahead and do a quick walk around, show the finished product. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the way this one came out. I think the colors turned out really good. I do like that yellow that's on there, that caterpillar yellow, because it looks really legit to the yellow color that you pretty much see on these things anyways. Everything came out really nice. Everything's really smooth and all that. So, I mean, it definitely turned out really good. The finish came out really nice. Now that Palm Beach County tag that I kind of showed in the very beginning of the video, I actually wanted to reinstall that on this light because I'm originally from Jupiter, Florida, which is Palm Beach County. So this light is actually from my hometown. So I kind of wanted to put that back on there as kind of like a little bit of a novelty kind of thing, because this is, from, where I'm originally from kind of thing. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to keep that on there. But in the process of taking it off, it didn't survive because of the oxidation and stuff like that. It just didn't survive. So I'm a little bummed out about that, but I mean, it is what it is. So let's go ahead and turn it on and show you what it does. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. Now the time duration on the thing is a little long, so I'm going to end up speeding it up a little bit so it doesn't take as long. So here we go. So here we have it. This is my Crouse Hinds doghouse traffic light. I hope you all enjoyed seeing the restoration of this light right here. Thanks for watching.